Hello everyone and welcome to Montgomery High School's College Series presentation for our current juniors, the class of 2024. And this is talking about the beginnings of the college search process. What are the things that we believe that students and parents should be thinking about when we do go to start this search process? My name is Keith Glock. I'm one of the counselors here at Montgomery, and without further ado, let's just get right into things. So obviously things are coming up ahead of us, and where are we going to start with this whole process? The first thing that I've always said is if you are looking to apply to a place and get into a place because of the name of the school only, we need to move our headspace to someplace different. Too often, I think, especially in our community, college is seen as the prize that is won. And if that was the case, obviously, then we would just all retire after we got into college because there'd be nothing else to accomplish in life. Often we see students who come back to us and say, like, "Ugh, I went to a place because of the name, and they ended up transferring," which is not what we want them to do. And they prioritized the name over potentially a different place that they may have even liked better during the search process. So, really, if that is the case in your situation, I'm going to challenge you to rethink that process. So what are we going to do here, big picture wise? This presentation was given to all juniors the previous Thursday and Friday to this presentation in their history classes. Then we are encouraging all of those students to make small individual meetings with their counselor because we want to answer these broad questions that we're going to pose in this presentation today. And we're going to answer them specifically for each student. Counselors will help those students develop a list in their Naviance account to put in the colleges I'm thinking about. And then it will be a nice conversation at home, hopefully between students and parents, that will result in college visits. And then hopefully by the time we get back in September, students will have a pretty good idea of the pecking order of the places that they would like to apply to. So, obviously, we're beginning now, winter of junior year. The one thing off this slide that I want to talk about is it's very logical, and we would want students and parents to be seeking the advice of, like older siblings or, the friends of, or the siblings of friends, things like that. But too often, our high school students just hear, you should do this or you shouldn't do that. You should go to this place or you shouldn't go to that place. This place is great, that place is not so great. And they often just accept that blindly without asking the question why. So the example that I'd used with the students was, well, if you have a older sibling of a friend who says, don't go to Rutgers, that place is terrible. And then if they were to just take that as gospel, they would say, well, okay, yeah, Rutgers stinks, I'm never going to go there. But if you ask why, perhaps the sibling of the friend would say, those classes are just too big. I don't know how anybody could learn there. But maybe your child is thinking, well, that big school experience is exactly the thing that I'm looking for. So the reason why one student may have really not done well might be the actual reason why your child is wanting to go there. So always ask why. Certainly seek the advice, but always ask why. We did some quick admissions vocabulary with the students. The things to touch on here are we often hear the term small liberal arts college, and the students don't really understand, and sometimes people out in the world don't understand that liberal arts college is just what most of us think of as college. Rutgers, Ohio State, Penn State, Yale, Princeton, those are all liberal arts colleges. You can study biology in the exact same way that you could study English. It just means they offer a wide variety of things. The things that are not liberal arts colleges would be a place like the Culinary Institute, where obviously you're going to go to the Culinary Institute to become a chef, or a Polytechnic Institute like Stevens or NJIT. The option to study English at a place like that is not really on the table. You're going to be an engineer, you're going to be a business major. That's pretty much where things begin and end. So for the vast majority of colleges in the country, that is what we mean by liberal arts college, and certainly they are not only small. Admissions vocabulary. The common application is something that is mainstream enough that most everyone is aware of what it is. It's going to be a great friend to our students over the next year. It is a website that hundreds and hundreds of colleges across the country allow our students to fill out, and they will accept that application. And it is not less than a college's own individual application by any stretch of the imagination. It is something that most colleges prefer. We certainly prefer it because it works very nicely with our Naviance system, which allows us as counselors and teachers to send transcripts and letters of recommendation, our high school profile. That will all get uploaded right into Naviance, and then with one click we can send that information to colleges, and it links up directly with the students' Common Application accounts. So we're certainly encouraging of everyone to use the Common Application when it's available. As we work down the line here, I'm going to skip over early decision for a second because we're going to end up talking about early decision quite a lot in the next couple of minutes. Early action. Early action is a non-binding applications decision deadline, which simply means that you can apply to as many colleges as you would like, and you're applying early. There's no masking what we're talking about here. November 1st, December 1st are the relative deadline times for early action. It simply means the college will read those applications at that time, and you will get an answer a lot of the times before we even go on winter break. Regular admission deadline is exactly the same as early action. You can apply to as many as you want. January 1, February 1, those are usually the times that those decision deadlines are. There is nothing wrong with early action or regular admission deadlines. Seemingly here in Montgomery, our time cycles seem to be pushed up because there is a rush to do everything first. And there are circumstances where regular decision may be the preferred deadline for a student. If a student has succeeded quite a bit in junior year relative to freshman and sophomore year, and then is having a very strong beginning to senior year, that would be the type of student that I would advise to wait to the regular admission deadline, because then we can, show to those colleges to which they are applying, hey, the student that I was maybe as a freshman and a sophomore is certainly different than the student that you see before you today. So there's reasons to do that. Now let's jump into, there's a bunch of these other decision deadlines. I don't want to spend too much time on them because they are rare, and we can talk more individually about them with the students if they choose to apply to a place that has, say, a restrictive early action deadline. But I want to talk about early decision quite a bit because there is a notion out there that early decision deadlines are very important and that everyone should use the early decision deadline. And I want to just talk about why that is probably not the case and not what we should do. Early decision is a binding admission deadline, meaning you can only apply to one school early decision. And if the student gets into that early decision school, they are required to attend. There is a contractual agreement that is signed by parents and students. I have to acknowledge as a counselor that yes, I've spoken to the family about this. They're understanding of the fact that it is a binding admission deadline. The one thing that we talked about with the students was that there is one thing that could get you out of an early decision agreement, and that is finances. But the catch is that students and families are not the ones deciding whether the finances are going to work in that situation. The colleges to which you will apply in early decision will utilize the FAFSA and the CSS profile, which is another financial aid document that you could be required to submit, and they will analyze your income, your assets, and then they will decide whether or not you can afford to potentially sell some of those assets, or those assets are worth enough where they would say that is fine, that you may say that you're not liquid enough to attend, but we don't agree and you have to come. So that deadline is something for that reason, and not only that reason, but certainly that reason is something we need to take very seriously. So I want to talk, this is kind of like the elephant in the room, the 4,000-pound gorilla, whatever analogy you want to create for this. But there is a notion out there that the answer to this question is yes. Because you're going to hear this when you go on college tours, and there's going to be a representative from the college that stands up in front of you and says, well, we accept a much higher percentage of our student population relative to the early action or regular admission deadlines. And I'll throw some numbers out there. Let's say the college says, well, we accept 27% of the applicants in the early decision deadline, but we only accept 7% or 6% in the regular and early admission deadlines. So if you were to take that information on its face and say, well, wow, look at the percentage of students that apply to those deadlines who are admitted, there's clearly an admissions advantage to applying in the early decision period. Now, what the colleges want us to believe is that the deadline itself is the factor that makes up for that 20%, some odds 21% increase in admissions percentage. And I really don't want us to be not smart consumers of college, because I'm here to tell you that the deadline itself is not the thing that makes up that 21% increase in admissions percentage. And yet it's something that still, the notion is out there that I have to apply early decision. Which school should be my early D school? And students keep saying that because they believe that there is an admissions advantage. So let's talk about why I don't want you to accept that simple explanation and think that it's that simple. So when you hear this question, I would encourage your child, and I said this to every one of our juniors, you're going to raise your hand in that meeting and ask this question. What I'm hearing you say is that you lower the admissions requirements for this institution during the early decision deadline period, because that's what they're seeking to imply. And they'll say, no, well, it's also that you're showing commitment to the school. Well, if it was that, then every single person would apply early decision, right? If it was just as simple as, well, we know you want to come, then that's just far too simplistic. I'm sorry, it just is. So the question that you have to ask is, so let's use a specific example. If you take an Ivy League institution, which we know has remarkably high admission criteria, and we know that the volume of applications that those institutions receive is humongous. The implication, if we're going to believe that the commitment only and the lowering of admission standards exists at an institution like that, what that's implying is that the institution itself doesn't believe that it's going to get the necessary volume of applications from qualified candidates where they could admit enough students and have enough students actually come to their school. That notion is insane. Of course, institutions like the Ivy League are receiving a significant and adequate volume of qualified applicants. It would be foolish to think that that was not the case. So I'm going to offer you another explanation that is going to make up for that 20 or 21% admission rate. Okay, and before I even get to that, I'll stick on this slide. You have to think about who's applying for this deadline. Every single recruited athlete to a school where the school has early decision. Recruited athlete meaning the coaches have already gone through the admissions process with their admissions staff behind the scenes before the application is even submitted. There are hundreds of institutions across this country where there is a special interest population which is guaranteed admission, like children of faculty. When they're eligible to go to college, if you are a professor at that school and your child applies, you're guaranteed admission, no questions asked. So when we look at those, I call them the 100% admit population. So if you think about the fact that it is a smaller applicant pool in general, the volume of applicants is smaller in early decision. And now you have every recruited athlete, any special interest, other types of special interest that we haven't even discussed, things that we're never going to find out because the college doesn't publish this type of information. Let's say you have a remarkably successful marching band, which we know they recruit for. Like, those students are all being told, okay, we want you, you want us, apply in the early decision period. So now you have a significant portion of the smaller population that's applying who are 100% admits. The college receives the application, they don't even read it. You're in, we've already recruited you, we know this about you. They get moved into the acceptance pile. These 100% admits, which is a significant portion of that application pool in early decision, is the thing which is making up for that admissions percentage discrepancy. But the college is telling you it is to your advantage to apply in the early decision period because of that percentage difference. So if I've just given you the rational, actual explanation, why is the college still pushing everyone to apply in that way? And the answer is because they want to control yield the best that they possibly can. Yield is defined as the number of students who actually attend the college after they've received an admissions offer. And the reason why that's so important is financial. Like everything else in life, colleges are certainly institutions of higher education. However, they are also businesses. And every time a student enrolls and comes to a school, they are essentially a dollar sign that makes up the bottom line. So if you think about it like this, and I used this number, here now, if Lehigh now costs approximately $70,000. I moved it up from 70. It actually was $50,000 in there a couple of years ago in 2018. So if you see the math down below, the $50,740, that is where the mathematics come from here, not the 70,000. I just updated that a little bit for our current Lehigh numbers. If hypothetically Lehigh wanted to get 2,000 incoming freshmen, and we were looking at that 2018 tuition number of $50,740, and only 1,900 students attended, they're in a $5 million deficit before we even open the doors for the first day of school. If 2,100 students said yes to Lehigh, that would mean that they would need to find beds for those students to sleep in because they don't have enough beds. They might have to rent out a hotel or something like that to put freshman students in, and they certainly don't want to do that because that also affects their bottom line. So if the college can entice students, the highest number of most qualified students, to apply in the early decision period, it allows that college to accept the cream of the crop in terms of the academic population, because that will allow them to more easily fit the academic profile of the incoming freshman class, which the school has defined that it wants, because it will set certain parameters and say, our goal is to have our incoming freshman class have a average grade point average of this and an average standardized testing score of that. So if they get more qualified applicants in that early decision period, it better allows them to be able to control the yield, which is their dollars and cents, and to control the academic profile of the incoming freshman class. Both of those are advantageous to the school. Now, it makes it seem like I am very anti-early decision. That is not the case whatsoever. I am pro-early decision as long as these two qualifications are met. The first one and foremost being, this is absolutely the place that I want to go. There is no indecision about what my number one choice is. I am wholeheartedly 100% in on attending this particular college. And secondly, as a family, you can afford to pay full price because the college is not incentivized to offer you financial aid at all. Some schools will evaluate applications on a need-blind basis, meaning they will not look at your financial situation while evaluating the application. However, that is not true of all schools throughout the country. There are many schools that are not need-blind. So they will look at your financial situation, and they may look at your FAFSA and CSS profile and say, okay, this is a family that we deem can pay full price for this institution, regardless of that child's academic success. So we are going to admit them, and we are going to charge them full price. Be aware that that situation happens. So I'm pro early decision as long as those two things are met. So now, more we'll take we'll exhale on that, because that was a lot of big, heavy lifting. What are the things that our guidance department through the years has learned actually matters to students in terms of what makes them happy? This is what I call the what makes kids happy list. And the thing that we've heard back from our students through the years, more than any other thing that affects their admissions decision happiness and where they're attending, is how big the school is and where it is in relation to their family unit. And however each student and each family defines that might be totally different. Some students want a big school experience. Some students are self-aware enough to know that that big school experience is not for them, and that they actually require and thrive on the student-professor, the student-teacher interaction. And if that is the type of student that your child is, and they need that feedback, they need that one-on-one personal attention, then a smaller school needs to be what you're looking at. Location to family unit. Some students are very, very independent. Others would much prefer being able to drive home within a couple of hours, or have a parent come and pick them up, if something is going well or isn't going well. And that's just going to be, again, being self-aware to who you are, what type of family unit you guys are. Can you afford to fly people home for break? Can you not? Does that mean you don't get to spend Thanksgiving together? How important is that to everybody? Those types of things are hard conversations that I think ideologically in the beginning part of the process, the students are like, I don't care, I'll go to California. And then when the rubber hits the road a little farther down the line, perhaps they may change their mind a little bit. How are you really going to know what you like and what you don't? You're going to utilize all the tools that we have, like Naviance, the internet, the advice from siblings or friends who have gone through the process before. But until you actually go set foot on college campuses, you're really not going to know whether or not that college is a place that you would like to be. So I would encourage you to get out and visit as many places as possible. For the students, it's going to be simple things. What do the freshman dorms look like? What does the cafeteria look like? Is the food any good? Do I have to share a bathroom with 22 other students? Do I have a suite where it's just me and my 3 roommates and we have our own bathroom? Those simple type of, this is where I'm going to live for the next 4 years type of questions are what the students are trying to answer. And quite frankly, they should be trying to answer, because if you have to physically be in a space every day that you really are uncomfortable, that leads to bad things happening one after the other. What I talk about oftentimes is it's stuff that you don't even know about yet. When your students go on a tour, your children go on a tour with you, they're going to see some things, and they're going to see some stuff that they feel like, oh, that's awesome, that's really cool. And then you're going to go to another college visit at a different place, and you're going to ask if that second place has the thing that your child thought was really cool at the first place. And whether or not the second place has that same kind of thing is going to be a factor in determining whether or not they really, that's how their pecking order is developed, basically. I'm choosing this school over that school over that school, and that's going to be why. And all that is relatively normal. All right, considering the cost of college, it is a known fact that public schools in the state of New Jersey are cheaper for students who reside in the state of New Jersey than our private schools. That is what the sticker price of those schools are. The public schools in the state of New Jersey, there are 7. From north to south, we're looking at Ramapo, William Patterson, Montclair State, Rutgers, the College of New Jersey, Rowan, and Stockton. Those schools kind of have a relatively fixed price because they are run by the state of New Jersey. All the rest of the schools in the state of New Jersey are private. When you look outside the state, even public schools out of state have out-of-state tuition, so it ends up being a little bit more expensive. But generally, public schools are less expensive than private schools, again, about the sticker price. But the sticker price for college is kind of like the sticker price of buying a car. Rarely do you pay what the sticker price is. Usually you'll get some kind of discount or break off of the sticker price during the negotiation. So for private colleges, it works very much the same way. You may apply to a private college, and the sticker price may be $50,000, but they may evaluate your transcript and say, hey, you're a great student, you're from Montgomery High School, our Montgomery kids that we've brought here have done very well, here's $18,000. So a school in New Jersey that you thought was going to cost $50,000 because that was the sticker price now costs maybe perhaps the same as Rutgers, which this past year to attend and live at Rutgers was about $32,000, $33,000. So the moral of this story in this slide is do not allow the sticker price of college to dissuade you from applying. You should take the actual cost of attendance and perhaps allow that to dissuade you from attending, but don't allow it to dissuade you from applying because you just don't know what it's going to actually cost until after you get in and after you receive that financial aid award package. So what are the colleges looking for from our kids? What's important to the college? What classes did you take and what grades did you get? And then depending on whether or not you're going to be submitting standardized test scores or the school even wants them, that could be second, and then grade point average could be third. The college essay is probably very much linked. It's kind of like a 3A in this, what colleges are looking for. And then I would say that everything else after that, the recommendations, the activities and things that our students are involved in, all that stuff is a little bit, there's a gap, and then all that stuff is down the line a little bit. And I spent a good deal of time with the students talking about the fact that when you list activities on a college application, I was the president of this, I was the captain of that team, nobody is checking that. There's not a verification button. Colleges are not calling about every student that applies to every school. So initially when I say that, oftentimes students and parents feel like, well, why did we spend all this time doing the stuff that we're doing over the last couple of years? If it's just something that I'm going to list and doesn't have a ton of impact if I'm not being recruited to do it at the college. And the answer is because those are the things, those are the experiences that you allow to come alive in the college essay. And I do believe the college essay is quite important. So all of the things, I was the president of this, I was the captain of that, we need to passionately write about those things in our college essay. I'm a very big believer, and I'm not because this is just the Keith Glock opinion, this is because this is an informed opinion that I've received after talking to college admissions reps year over year, is that the college essay should not be this remarkably, incredibly formal thing where you're showing off that you understand how to utilize every part of speech in the English language and you're using 5 semicolons. As an adult, I've used a semicolon 3 times in my adult life, so the essay isn't that. The essay is, what are you doing to make the stuff that you're passionate about come alive in an essay in a real way that's written as though it was written by a teenager? Okay, if there is a parent and a college counselor involved in significantly writing that part of the essay, I can tell you you're doing a disservice to the child, because the person on the other side that reads 10,000 college essays a year, it's very easy to spot the ones that are written by the professional college counselor and the ones that are actually written by the student. So as a philosophy about college essay, what am I passionate about? What gets me really fired up? How is that thing the thing that inspired me to want to apply to college for a certain thing? And how is that college that I'm applying to then going to be the vehicle that takes me to what I want to do in my life? And you're going to write that in a very personal, very honest way and make who you are known. Show. Don't just tell. Show the colleges. This is what I'm interested in. This is why I think your school is the greatest thing for me, and this is why I think it's going to help me do the thing I want to do in my life. So the ownership aspect of this application process, I just alluded to it. We need it to be the student's process. As you are at home talking with your children about this process, questions are invariably going to arise. And I really need the students themselves to be the ones emailing the guidance office or coming down and talking to us. It's not that we're unhappy talking to parents about any of this stuff, but the worst thing you could do as a parent during this entire college application process is to contact a college on behalf of your child. The colleges take notes of who has parents calling, and they do that because they understand that They want to admit students who are going to succeed, and when they hit adversity in college, which is invariably going to happen, the question that they ask themselves is, well, what is the student going to do? Are they going to run to their parents and ask their parents for this help, and instead of going and seeing the professor, and then all of a sudden parents are emailing a professor, which good luck ever getting a response on that. That's just, it's not how things work here. So I'm advising everyone to please allow the students to be the one asking the questions and coming down and talking to us, because if they're going to make mistakes in the manner in which they communicate, we are the practice. We will tell them, hey, here's the answer to your question, but format your email in this certain kind of way. And, make the mistakes on us where there's no penalty, when the penalty for making the mistake in the college application process could be more severe than anything like what we would want. Standardized testing for the class of 2024 is going to be largely test optional, probably. Many, if not most colleges throughout the country have already come out with a test optional policy that exists through the application process for the class of 2024. However, some are saying that they are going to go back to requiring some kind of standardized testing. My advice on this is you're going to have to register yourself. Going through College Board or ACT.org, and then you're going to have to prep. Just prep in some kind of way. We recognize that there's different things that you can do out there to prep, and they range from free to very expensive. And I promise you that all of those things, whether free or very expensive, are all teaching the same material. If you have a remarkably independent child that you can buy a book on Amazon for $10, and they have the discipline to read that book, take tests, time themselves, grade themselves, and learn all the things in that book on their own, then by all means spend $10 and buy the book. We are paying, when we pay for these things, for the convenience of having somebody instruct our children. So when we talk about the expensive things, there's the Kaplan and Princeton Review type classes where you're in person on a weekend morning for a couple of hours over a number of weeks, and that's about $2,000. Revolution Prep has a live Zoom type virtual live instruction. That's about $700. Then you look at the free options. We have free test prep classes here at Montgomery. They don't begin on this day and end on this day. They're offered every Tuesday and every Thursday after school. The location of those is on the guidance website. Your students can just pop in. There's one room for critical reading. There's one room for mathematics. The teachers there will meet the students where they are in terms of, hey, if this is what you want to practice on, how many times have you taken the test? They'll personalize the experience for each of your children. If that's not something that you're interested in, Khan Academy online, it's linked directly to College Board, is a fantastic, wonderful, free resource. So whatever decision you choose to go, please just prep in some kind of way for what's coming. College search is going to start with Naviance. Over the last couple of years, students may not have used Naviance very much, and that is totally fine. If we had a lot of students say, I don't even know how to get into my Naviance account. If that's the case, have your child email their counselor, and we will just send a password reset to their email, and they'll be able to get in. So what can you do in Naviance? Obviously, we can do college searches, and the information that comes up is robust about each college. But for me, the thing that is most impactful about Naviance relative to the college search is, well, how do I even know, Mr. Glock, whether a school is a target, a reach, or a safety school for me? And the answer is in these scattergrams. So for every school, all the plot points on this scattergram are Montgomery High School only students in the last 5 years. You're looking at the College of New Jersey in the last 5 years. These are every student from Montgomery that has applied, and you can see along the bottom axis, the x-axis is standardized testing scores, and the y-axis is grade point average. Once your child has both of those items, you'll see them plotted with a little bit kind of like a human being icon pops up somewhere on that scatter plot. And you can look and see, well, where am I in relation to the green checkboxes, which are acceptances, or the red X's, which are rejections? And if I'm around a lot of green checkboxes, I could say, hey, this is probably either a target or a safety school for me. And if I'm around a lot of red X's, hey, this might be a little bit of a reach school for me. So as long as we've had at least 2 students apply to anywhere in the country in the last 5 years, you're going to be able to see this scatter plot when you click on a college in Naviance. It's a fantastic tool. Next year in the fall, we have a whole bunch of college representatives who are the people who are actually reading the college applications. They come to Montgomery High School and they will talk to our students. There's a college visits button in Naviance, and around August 15th, September 1st of next year, we start posting who's coming and when they're coming. Students can log in right there and register for each of those visits. Usually happens during fourth block when many of our students have early dismissal, so they don't miss class. And it's just a little bit of nice face time with the college reps. So some final thoughts. A good search process results in a limited number of applications. Application fees are about $90 per school now. That is, if you look at, we had a student apply to over 40 schools last year, and the conversation that we had with that student was, your process wasn't good. If you're talking about spending $4,000 to apply to school, what if you get into over 30 of those schools? You're in the exact same place you were when you were figuring out where you were going to apply. You didn't take the time to, during the application process to think, is this a place I would actually attend? Because you have to go through that information anyway after you get into all of those schools. And I think, quite honestly, if we could do that process first and save $3,000, why would we not do that? I think it's just, it's good practice and good policy. This is an exciting time. Do not allow the fact that maybe is the first time you're going through this process to make it seem like I don't want to enjoy it. I don't want to have it be a thing that can be a bonding experience for children and parents when you're going on trips and seeing places together. Please value that experience. It is and can be fun. All the things that you may have trepidation about, I promise you we're going to hold your hand and walk you through it come the fall when the time comes to apply. So please take the time and visit, bond as a family, value the things that you know are going to help make your child successful, and we wish you the best of luck in this process, and we look forward to helping you through it.